Welcome to Contemplative Living, where we view contemplations for the week to have a better understanding of our spiritual paths. This is Contemplative Living with Dave Bennett.
Hey, good morning and welcome to another Contemplative Living, where we talk about concepts that bring contemplative living into everyday life. I'd like to start this morning with a quote by Meister Eckhart. He says, "He who would be serene and pure needs but one thing, detachment." And then the Buddha said, the root of suffering is attachment. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about detachment and how achieving a level of attachment is very beneficial and very helpful in our day-to-day life. So detachment is self-awareness in the world, but not of it. So what are we talking about here? It reminds me of at one time, and I've told this story before, but at one time I was kind of really had a lot of chaos going on in my life. I just had so many things going on. And I went and sat at the foot of a Rinpoche, and I told him, I said, I feel like I'm in this storm. And I'm this pillar in the middle of a storm, and the world is just swirling around me, and what do I do? What do I do? And the Rinpoche just had some very simple advice. He said, "Be the pillar." Well, I'll tell you, I took that aside, and I took that in. And I thought very seriously about that. Be the pillar. Well, to be the pillar, sometimes we have to detach ourselves from all the chaos that is going on around the world. Well, how do we do that? A lot of times the way I do it is through my morning reflection and meditation. I use that time to pull myself away from all the circumstances in my life and to rise above it. And in order to do that, you have to take some time for yourself. You have to give yourself that self-care. But what's important is, not sure how that just happened. The important thing is detachment is a level of pure consciousness that is not unmoving. It is a dynamically alive existence aware of itself. So in other words, what I'm trying to depict in this image is you don't have to be in the water with the sharks. You can be floating above, safely above, and able to see clearly what's going on. And with that clear vision, we can see the circumstances more clearly. We can we can work with the circumstances. And so detachment isn't, separating yourself from the world and not caring. A lot of people have a misconception that that's what detachment is, but it's not grasping. It's not holding on to the circumstances that pull us down, pull us away from our center. What it is it's arising above the circumstances so that you can see clear paths and you can be compassionate and more loving because you're not pulled away from your loving center. You're actually residing in your loving center. And that's what true empowering detachment is really all about. So, self-knowing generates a flow of consciousness that provides unbounded power to create, support, and transform every aspect of life. When we come to that point of detachment, we get to clearly know ourselves. And when we rise above the circumstances, there's a a greater flow of our consciousness. We're not tied down. We're elevated above. And so in that state, it provides us this unbounded creativity that we can use to support and transform every aspect of life. And wouldn't that be wonderful? Wouldn't that be a powerful way to live our lives? Is to rise above it, be in our heart center, and flowing into the circumstances with that power. And it allows us to transform what it is that we're looking at. So, the all-encompassing power of wholeness is not far away or grandiose. We find ourselves constantly on a pendulum where we swing from our human self to our spiritual self. And there are times we're just jumping back and forth and back and forth. That is one way to, at least be able to distinguish our human self from our spiritual self. But wouldn't it be nice if we could find wholeness where we integrate both our human side and our spiritual side? Well, when we approach life from this point of spiritual detachment, when we rise above the circumstances and we live within that clearer vision, then we're not jumping back and forth so much. We're able to have a more steady stream of higher consciousness available to us to be able to see the paths that lie before us, so that we can then be the most we can be and living an empowered life in this physical realm. Now, enjoy opportunities to explore free of outside opinions or artificial boundaries. So, joy is a big part of living our lives. When we live with joy, we can see what it is that lifts us up. We need that. We need to be lifted up. So enjoy the opportunities to explore. Be an explorer, free of outside opinions. A lot of times in our culture today, we're being told what to think and where to go and how to act. And that's not living free. That's living tethered to the circumstances. And we need to break free from that. We don't need those boundaries that are imposed upon us. We need to create our own boundaries that are healthy and liberating for us, so that we can live our life more fully and be the person that we really, really want to be. Do those things that make time disappear and witness the boundless joy that flows to you. So we were just talking about joy, but now do those things that make time disappear. When we're in that state of detachment, when we do our practice of meditation and stillness, and when we bring that into our life, time doesn't exist in that realm. When we're working from a place of creativity, have you ever been in that spot where you've really, you're just in the zone and you're just doing your thing, and especially when you're doing something that feels creative to you, and when you're in that place, time doesn't exist. And suddenly, you look up at the clock and you realize, oh my gosh, I stepped outside of time. And I've seen it go both ways. I've seen it where suddenly, I've been in the zone and doing something very creative that just gets my heart open and communicating. And then all of a sudden I look up and hours have passed. But I've also seen it the other way, where I've been so productive and I've been in that zone again, only this time I've produced way more than could possibly have fit in the time that I just noticed. And so a lot of times when we're in that place of, loving detachment within our heart center and exploring life like that, time really doesn't exist because we're tapping into that universal consciousness where time doesn't exist. And with that, it brings, because you're working with your creative centers, it brings that boundless joy into your life. And so I hope that you find that boundless joy in your life this week. And I hope you can find ways to rise above the circumstances so that you can see the clear paths that are before you, and that you can use that to make informed and loving, heart-centered and compassionate decisions to make a better life for yourself and to be at peace while you're interacting in this physical realm. I hope you have a blessed week. Namaste.